Welcome back, everyone. As we said, we have a panel of experts here today. They're not only involved in government programs dealing with the drought, but they've all been in the farm and ranch business in one way or another themselves. Let's introduce our panel, starting at the far end down here. Bronson Smart. He's an engineer with the Natural Resources Conservation Service of the United States Department of Agriculture. That's what we used to call, about 15 years ago, the Soil Conservation Service, isn't it? He also grew up on a dairy farm in Sandy and a feedlot when he was younger, so you know that end of the business. Arthur Douglas is the State Executive Director for the Farm Service Agency of the Agriculture Department. He's also a farmer and rancher in Box Elder County. Welcome, Arthur.
Thank you.
Larry Ellertson, been on our program many times before, Utah County Commissioner, but Larry was also raised on a farm and ranch in Mona, Utah. So you all should know what you're talking about when we talk about the problems with farm and ranching today. You hear about the drought. Arthur, just how dry is it?
Terry, around the state and from all the reports we hear, it's so darn dry. The trees are chasing the dogs, and that's how dry it is.
The trees are chasing the dogs this year.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, it's very dry.
I've wondered why those dogs are sitting still.
That's true, but the severity of it's very severe, and we've got a bad case of the drought, and it's the producers, the livestock producers, commodity growers are really struggling this year.
What's happening in Utah specifically? Are the farmers or the ranchers having a harder time?
Both. I think the agriculture commodities that are being harvested now, they're coming in with record low yields. The livestock producers are starting to leave public lands to come back home, and lack of feed. That's our agency that we administer the Conservation Reserve Program, and one thing that we're going to offer is emergency grazing on the Conservation Reserve Program. Here in the state of Utah, we have about 180,000 acres under that title, and we're hoping that we can assist livestockmen who need that feed to carry them livestock throughout the late fall and into the winter. So that's
and Bronson, your agency, you work with a lot of the farmers and ranchers and other government entities in Utah, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
With solutions.
Yeah, farmers and ranchers can come into NRCS and ask for assistance with these kind of things. And so our agency provides the technical assistance for them to understand what they need to do in times of drought. And so a lot of folks have come in over the last few years, and NRCS actually helps them to pay for some of those things. And so over the last 5 years, we spent about $58 million just preparing for drought, and the producers match that same contribution from the federal government. And so it's a proactive approach. You know, we've been working on this for a lot of years, and there's a lot of people who are in a better place now because they were proactive in the past and have done some things to make it better in times of drought.
That was digging the canals, the irrigation canals the settlers did when they came to communities, right?
That's right. We've got a long history of that in Utah. You know, when the pioneers first moved into these valleys, they knew that they had to irrigate them. And as those pioneer canals have now turned into pipelines and center pivots and more efficient irrigation methods that irrigate the crops better so that they can produce more because we have more people to feed now.
Larry, we saw that report on the cherries in Utah County. We've seen the corn stands all over the place. The peaches are out. Is it that bad? What's going on? Why are we so lucky?
Well, I think part of the reason why we've had water that we've had is because of the system that's been put in place that you were referring to in terms of reservoirs and storage for water. Fortunately, last year we had plenty of water, and so we were able to begin this year with full reservoirs. And that's gone a long way toward helping them to have water thus far in the year. Now, from this point on, it could get a little tight in terms of having water for irrigation. But they're using it very sparingly in the orchards, as we saw on the tour that you saw earlier. There's a lot of science that goes into the way that they use water and use it to the best way they can.
So the science and the technology has increased since the droughts of many years ago. You're handling it better?
I believe that's correct. In terms of specific drip systems, to, as was mentioned, the sprinkler irrigation systems, much more efficient than the flood irrigation that was so common 40 years ago when I was pulling dams and chasing water. But
when you had to work out on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's going to cost us all in one way or another, in higher food costs and other materials costs. We're going to take a break here right now. When we come back, we'll find out what the cost will mean to us and what the cost will mean to the farmers and ranchers of Utah.
Have you ever wanted to go on a vacation to Mars? What about a visit to the Old West? Impossible, right? Well, forget what you think is real. In southern Utah's Kane County, other worlds are just an ATV ride away. The Old West lives on in every sunset. From the downtown streets of Little Hollywood to the vistas that have inspired the world. Never find yourself closer to home and yet farther than you've ever been. Southern Utah's Kane County, where anywhere is possible.
In San Rafael country, you'll discover more adventure and excitement than you can imagine. And it's only 2 hours from the Wasatch Front. Find gorges that descend thousands of feet, trails that go on forever, and the solitude of finding a place all your own. Emery County and the San Rafael Swell. We're closer than you think.
Unlimited opportunity for adventure. It's all about knowing where to look. ATV adventures, rock crawling events, art festivals, and wildlife events. The opportunities are limitless. Pick your adventure in Miller County.